elderly client came in. Let's call her Miss Mary. And she said she couldn't take care of her house anymore. And so she was selling the house and she was going to move into an apartment where they would do the grass for her and everything. No more maintenance. But then she said she couldn't get title insurance on her property. She said that she bought the property from her sister years ago, and she'd been living in the house for years, ever since. She said there was some kind of cloud on the title that was stopping her from getting title insurance. And she asked me, well, what is a cloud on a title? Well, in law school, a cloud is a term used in real estate law to describe anything that makes a title, makes a property title, not marketable. In the real world, you care about title insurance. You can't get a loan without title insurance. So a cloud is anything that will stop you from getting title insurance and thereby stop you from getting a loan. And then when you try to sell the property, if you haven't cleared the title, you're not going to be able to sell it for as much either, because the person won't be able to get a loan on the property to buy it. And you have to live with the constant worry that somebody may claim the property as theirs. So unless you get title insurance, or you are a real estate professional and you're able to insure it yourself, so to speak, you really need to make sure that there are no clouds on your title. When we buy title insurance, we protect ourselves from anyone making a claim against the title. Now, anything that's been recorded in the probate land records, including a lis pendens or a note written by hand and recorded, will cloud the title, and a title company will not issue title insurance until that cloud has been cured. And we call it title curative at Stanley and Associates, where when somebody comes in and they try to sell a piece of property, there's a cloud on the title. We do our best to cure the cloud on the title so that the person can sell the property and we can go forward with the closing. Now, before we get back to Miss Mary, you remember Miss Mary, I want to go over some words. First one is title. Well, title just means how you claim ownership to the property. In the old days, deeds were fancy, and people kept them in safe deposit boxes or fireproof boxes or safes at their homes. Well, now we record the deeds, and the deeds, or the title, the deeds, they're just black and white paper that say this person granted this property to this person. And that's the essence of it. Now, don't misunderstand. When you buy property, the closing agent will probably send you the deed. Yeah, it's good to have the deed, but no one's probably going to ever ask you to see the deed, because all they care about is whether it was recorded. So when you get the deed, you need to ensure that it was recorded and the property was properly assessed in your name. Otherwise, you won't get the tax bill from the county. If you don't get the tax bill from the county, you don't pay the tax bill to the county, and that's how property gets sold for taxes. And, the government's the one that writes the rules, so it doesn't matter that it wasn't assessed in your name. That's not an excuse for why you didn't pay the taxes. The next word I want to talk about, or next phrase I want to talk about, is chain of title, because any break in the chain of title will stop the insurance company from insuring the title. Also, in Alabama, the law says that the clerks are not allowed to assess the property. They're not allowed to record it if there are certain things that are on the deed, then they can't record it. And if there are certain things missing from the deed, then they can't record it. But then when they go to assess it, there cannot be a break in the chain. If there's a break in the chain, they can't assess the property. Now, we do have one county that I think they just don't understand what the Attorney General opinion said. But the Attorney General opinion is very clear that you must follow the law. You must ensure that the listed items that are in the code are on the deed, or the clerks are not to record it. Let me explain what a chain of title is. A chain of title is a chain, meaning this person to this person to that person. So Greg has a deed that he got from John. That's the first link. John has a deed that he got from Steve. That's the second link, and so on. If there's a break in that chain, you can't get title insurance, and you probably can't assess the property either. So Um, and in deeds, the seller is called the grantor, and the buyer, the person receiving, is considered the grantee. So when you see those words on the deeds, you'll know what those mean. Remember this rule of thumb. A deed is not effective until it's recorded. Now, I've said that before in law school, but you can also apply that to debt. An encumbrance on the land is not effective until it's recorded. So you have to record a mortgage or a lien or a judgment lien or any other kind of encumbrance cloud that you're trying to put on that title. For example, if you have an HOA and someone hasn't paid their dues, yes, it's true, the government has granted a statutory lien on the property. You still have to record the lien to give notice to buyers, because if somebody were to come along and buy it and not know about the lien, you're going to have a hard time enforcing the lien because you didn't record it. So record your deed to make it effective, record your liens to make them enforceable. Now, the most common clouds I see are bad deeds and, well, messed up documents and clerical errors. Those are the two biggest things that I see. So when somebody tries to sell a deed, we have to fix probably, let's go back to Miss Mary. What happened with Miss Mary was she received a wild deed. Her sister did not get the deed from her mother. There was no deed to the sister. At least there was not one recorded. And what did I say about it being recorded? There was no recorded deed to the sister. So Miss Mary's sister, her grantor, never had a recorded deed. Therefore, in the eyes of the law, she didn't have anything that she could convey to her sister. I'm not saying that the sister did this on purpose. She may have believed that because there was a will, if there was a will, she may have believed that that will somehow conveyed the property to her. No, it does not. A will doesn't convey anything. A court conveys things under the wishes of the will. In Alabama, if you want to convey real property, after someone has passed, you must go to a court, either to quiet the title or to probate their will. Either way, it's going to be a judge that conveys that property and gives somebody the authority to write a deed. Oftentimes, you'll see an executor's deed or an executrix's deed where the person was the personal representative or executrix for the decedent, the person who passed away. The probate judge has to approve the sale of any real property. They give the approval, then you'll record a deed from the executrix or the executor or the personal representative to whoever the will said it was supposed to go to. So the common clouds found on the probate land records are defective documents, defective deeds, wild deeds. So for example, Miss Mary's deed was a wild deed because it didn't have a predecessor. It was just out there by itself. It was wild. It did not link in the chain to any preceding deed. She can say, well, my mama owned it and my mama gave it to my sister all she likes. No one's going to issue title insurance on that property until the deed is quieted. I already mentioned we have two options here. We can either quiet the title remember this lady's passed, so we can't go get her to do a corrected deed or something. So we can either quiet the title in circuit court, or it's possible that we could probate her estate. It's probably too late to probate the will because they expire after a certain period of time. But we could probably probate the estate and have that personal representative pass the property on through a personal representative or executrix's deed. Let's see. Now, remember, in that case, Mama passed 30 years ago, so we weren't going to be able to probate the will, but we could probate the estate, not the will. So you should always make sure that your seller actually has something to sell to you. If your seller says they are selling property to you and the property is not assessed to them, they're probably not selling the property to you. And even if they do, you're not going to be able to get it assessed into your name because the assessor will only assess it from the person it's currently assessed to the next person on that deed. They're not going to skip. They won't let you skip a generation and just assess it past the person who sold it to you. Even if the deed was recorded, they're still not going to do it. So make sure that they have good title to convey to you. You can go online and you can research these things. Several of the counties are online. Some of the counties are in Alabama are not online, and you have to pay somebody to either go there, or there are certain big title companies that actually have copies of all the records, and they can go through their own stacks. So in summary, a cloud on a title is a claim against the property or a defective document that stops the insurance company from issuing title insurance. Always use a lawyer to complete sales of real estate, and never take legal advice from the internet.